And now, here's your host of Shaping Success, Wes Tankersley.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to Two Nobodies Who Know Nothing on the Shaping Success Network. If you would like to help us get the word out, please make sure that you are liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing, wherever you're listening to this or watching this. If you want to support the show for as little as $3 a month, you can go to patreon.com/wes.tankersley, and that will give you an option to sponsor us. So help us out, help us grow. We appreciate you, Robert Watson. What is happening?
It is a beautiful morning. I have the weirdest article, right, that I found, which I thought was very appropriate for discussion, right? Young daters confront a relationship killer. Ready? A killer in a relationship. Horrible.
Oh, yeah.
Can't get beyond this. It's called the swag gap.
Swag
Okay.
gap. Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So,
Do tell.
yeah, Gen Z has strong feelings about the stylistic imbalance that could doom a relationship.
Interesting.
So they literally, and again, just so you don't think I'm coming out of left field, this is a mainstream article, not a joke.
What is
So
their
they're literally-
problem? They just don't understand, or they don't like the way that someone dresses, so they can't have a relationship? Is that what we're talking about?
That's exactly what we're talking about.
This is insane.
So we're talking, yeah, I know. So we're talking about the fact that somebody comes to, in this case, swear to God, this happened to be in Houston, Texas, my current address. He talked about he arriving wearing a thrifted orange zip-up hoodie, camouflage cropped tee, bootcut jeans, an aesthetic designed to complement the venue's Latin and jazz scene. His date, who he had been seeing for months, showed up in black Lululemon leggings, oversized gray sweatshirt, and dirty Nike Air Forces. He felt that her clothing was a personal slight. It felt like a slap in the face.
Oh, my God. This is insane.
This is what we're worried about. This is what you have to concern yourself with your partner is there's a swag gap. Unfortunately, you can't dress appropriately enough for the venue. Therefore, we can't have a relationship.
You know what's funny about that is, like, I've always marched to my own tunes. I really don't give a shit, and that's what my wife loves about me, is the fact that I have my own, like, we all have our own thing, right? Like, I mean, I wore tennis shoes with my tuxedo at my wedding. Now, we fought about it, but I did it.
Yeah.
And she still married me. It was kind of crazy. It's weird. Like, you can do that and still get married and still get along. I mean, there's so many things that we've talked about before where everyone sits there and acts like, oh, there's so many things that are, this person has this and this person does that. It's like, if you don't like the person for who they are, fine. Why do we have to make a big deal about it? It's like, your teeth are different than mine. Yours might be whiter. You might drink a lot of coffee. You might have more facial hair than me. You might have a mole somewhere where I don't like it. If you don't like that shit, then just shut your mouth and go move on.
Yeah. And so I just thought that in an age of supposedly we're trying to get to be more authentic, right? And yet we're being, and again, not us. This is specifically targeted Gen Z. I'm
Right.
obviously not Gen Z. But could you be more superficial?
It's
Wow.
it's an interesting time too. Like growing up with, I got a 12-year-old and I got a 4-year-old. My 4-year-old obviously didn't know nothing yet. I mean, he's still wearing, he's still dragging his toes on the ground when he wants to stop his bike instead of pushing the pedals back and ruining his Nikes that I buy him. But my daughter, the stuff that she wears, I'm just sitting there going, man, seriously? Like, this is the style. This is what we're doing. But guess what? That's her style. That's her way to represent herself. She doesn't really care. And I think that if you show up for this concert, like you're talking about, this guy's all dressed up and ready to go. I mean, he's wearing a thrift store sweatshirt. You got to be kidding me. And I don't know. Like, there is this thing that we have to dress. I don't like, like I don't like that John Fetterman wears a Carhartt sweatshirt to a freaking, you know, government building. But does that make him different? Like, as far as like what's in his head and who he is and all that stuff, like, does that make him a different person? Right? Like, does that make him not qualified for the job? I don't think so. I mean, it's the same thing with like tattoos. Everyone thinks that tattoos are you know, my dad told me for a long time, hey, I'm going to cut that off if you get one. Or if you get an earring, I'll rip it out of your ear. Like, does that change who you are based on who you're dressed or what's in here, right? Or the type of relationship you have? How can you base that on what someone looks like? It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, we really are getting to be incredibly superficial if we only concern ourselves with the exterior. And we also have to ask ourselves a legitimate question, which is when you do things in your exterior to get attention, what's the point of the attention? What are you striving for? Why do you want to stand out? Is it a point people need to see you? Where are you? What kind of self-soothing are you needing from outsiders?
Yeah.
Um,
It's
Odd.
crazy. I mean, and one could argue too, like the exact opposite of that scenario too, is that like you look at what she was wearing, you know, Lululemon leggings. Like this is a big thing that a lot of people wear because they're comfortable or whatever. But you look at like back in the day, like when someone was wearing spandex, they were wearing it to work out. And now we basically make this an article of clothing that is something that you can wear everywhere. But on the other hand, what's that guy wearing? Like he's wearing bootcut jeans. To me, that's freaking same kind of thing. Like he's almost wearing the same thing. It's just a different color, you know?
Right. I just couldn't imagine why it ended up as a mainstream article.
Yeah.
And so
Oh,
when you have to understand mainstream for me, meaning that when I look at the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and Washington Post every morning, I just look at the headlines, and I'm not really reading stuff. I'm just going across and seeing what they think is important for the day.
mhm.
Now, if there's something that catches my eye, then of course I read it. And in this case, I caught this and went, "Excuse what?
Hold on. That was
Is
in
it
the
a
New York
relationship
Times. Is that what
filler?"
you just said?
No, this is actually in the Wall Street Journal.
In the Wall Street Journal. Okay. So this is shit that used to be in the, like, what was the magazines that the girls read? I have to, 17 magazine. Like, here's these quizzes on what,
17,
yeah.
Cosmo, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, this does not belong in the mainstream media. This is something that's like a trend of what's going on with dating. Like, this is insane. I mean,
Right. And so that's why it stopped me and give them credit for creating a headline where I went, huh, really? So I give them credit in this grand scope of things. I actually went, are you kidding me? And of
yeah.
course, it was infinitely more insulting when it was in my neighborhood. In my neighborhood and at the university, he's a university student where I am.
Well,
So it was even more, I was like, oh, geez, really?
come on,
Okay.
Grandpa, get with the times. This is what's going on. I mean, this is the shit that,
Exactly.
you know, like like we said, we're out. Like, you know, you got baby boomer, you got a Gen Xer, and, you know, we're way out of this. We have no clue what's going on. This is insane. But it shows you how far the media has come because it has to make a story out of, they're trying to relate to the people that are coming up. And it's funny, you know, millennial used to kind of be a bad word, and I'm starting to realize that maybe those millennials aren't quite as bad as we made them out to be. And this next gen, and will we think the same way in 20 years? Is this next generation like, the reality is that we only see the stuff that makes the headlines, right? We don't see what's going on with the rest of them. We make a judgment on, you know, Gen Z or millennials based on the things that we see. And I think that we may have made snap judgments because what we see is the bullshit. We don't see what's really going on besides the bullshit. We only see the garbage in between because that's what sells a story. Like, this obviously caught you, you know, the headline caught you, but these Gen Z people who are really believe this way probably saw that. Like, but that's all they're showing. Like, it's 10% of the population, 5% of the population, 1% of the population that saw this. And that's what they're making the story about.
Right. It just, again, fascinates me because you're number one, trying to grab attention, but the fact that this would even be enough where an actual reporter spent time on this issue and where somebody had said to this reporter somewhere, hey, there's this thing called a swag gap. And they're like, huh? And so then when they actually investigated that, they went, you're kidding me. Right. And then they thought, oh my gosh, this is going to grab a headline because why? Because it's stupid. Okay. Or incredibly shallow or whatever, or a sign of the changing times, whatever, however you want to phrase it. But it definitely captured my attention to go, wow, if this is the things we're concerned about, and you wonder why relationships break down, if this is what we concern ourselves with, even remotely concern ourselves with,
Yeah.
we really have, that's big time issues.
Well, and this is one of those things that like I don't know that I ever like even with dating, like I never really like dressed up. Like I'm sitting here thinking about Thanksgiving this year. My wife is like, "Oh, what are we gonna have for the kids to wear at Thanksgiving?" And I'm sitting there going, "I'm gonna wear a t-shirt and I'm gonna wear jeans and I don't really care. I want to be comfortable while I'm sitting there gorging on food that is making me fatter. I don't want to be, like it's funny how that goes. And you're going to a concert and it's after hours and it's your time to kick loose. Like, do you really want to be, like in some freaking weird outfit that's uncomfortable trying to be comfortable? Like I don't get it where these
Yeah.
people come from. Guys that can't even figure out, like the last time I had a job interview, I was, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago. And I dressed up because this is what you do, like as a teacher, that's the expectation that you're supposed to dress up. Like you go to every single scenario the way that you're supposed to. So when I'm a PE teacher, I had 3 other teachers that I worked with. One person wore sweats. The other person wore, school branded shorts, or the other 2 people did. I wore golf shorts and a polo shirt. Like that's what I felt comfortable in. That's what I thought looked professional for the job that I had. Didn't mean that there was anything wrong with the other way that they were doing it, but that's where it was at. Same thing with going to this interview. I wore dress pants, I've dress shoes, a shirt, and a tie. Like every time I have an interview, I have to go buy a new shirt because I haven't worn that one for 8 years or don't know where it is or whatever. But it's the type of scenario. And like to me, when I'm looking at a concert, we're calling this a swag gap. I mean, could she have cleaned up her shoes? Yeah, probably. Did she walk through some dirt? Probably. I mean, what are we doing here? This is just, that's insane that we're writing articles about this shit.
Oh, and it's true. And you mentioned that I don't own a tie. I have 0 ties.
Really?
So if you want me to go 0, I don't own one. So here's the point. When I cross the age of 60, oh no, you're not going to get me to do anything I don't want to do now. There's a funeral.
Yeah.
I'm showing up in collar.
Yeah.
So you might as well just get used to that. Why?
Do you
Well,
have a sport coat
I've
at
made
least?
it.
Because I don't even have a.
I do have a sport coat.
Yeah,
I
I
do have
don't.
one.
I mean, I literally don't. Like, I have to if I'm going to like if there was a funeral. It's funny that you said that because I was thinking about it. It's like, what would I wear? Like, I would wear the same thing that I'd throw on some black pants, probably go find a black shirt or whatever, and I don't know that I'd wear a tie, but I would look a little bit more dressed up than I do right now. I mean, it's the scenario for what it is.
I bought the sport coat for my own graduation.
Oh yeah, see,
And it wasn't that I had to walk across the normal stage.
no,
We had a smaller graduation, sub graduation that I wanted to go to, and I needed to have something, so I blew out a blue sport coat. So I had blue sport coat, black pants, and an open collar shirt. Shocking,
yeah,
but that was my concession to trying to, kind of honor my professors, right? So this was one of my master's presentations, so at least I went and showed up, semi nice.
yeah. Nikki says a teacher that worked with her dad showed up at the funeral in sweats. Was he a PE teacher? I mean, I could understand that. Maybe he was just trying to like come in solidarity, knowing that your dad, because your dad was a PE teacher, right, Nikki? I mean, I don't know. You have to kind of dress for the occasion, but I feel like what you described she was wearing was what every lady wears this day and age. Like that's kind of the thing. Like how often anymore do you see it? It's still happening, but like if you were to take a survey and you were walking around, how often do you see women wearing jeans anymore? Like it used to be. I remember when my wife, when I met her, it was overalls, right? Everyone was wearing denim overalls. That was the thing. And now you don't see it very often anymore. It's like they're wearing leggings. That's the new sweats. It's weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Just again, back to the oddities of changing, changing aesthetics, as they're now calling it.
Hmm.
You know, I just, I wonder to ourselves, listen, you're dating somebody, does that make them a better partner? Does that make them a better potential mother? Um, is there anything of substance you can garner from the swag gap
Yeah.
as to whether or not this person, you should be dating them, or oh, I'm sorry, we're just dating to have somebody to go to a concert with? Are we dating for a purpose? In other words, is this, we're searching for a mate? If we're searching for a mate, I'm not think that the swag gap is one of the major issues you're going to face in the next 50 years of being together. But
Yeah.
again, I could be wrong.
I don't know. I mean, the way you dress really dictates what kind of person you are.
Wow.
We've got this. That was sarcasm for all of you who don't understand sarcasm. Um, but it's funny to me because, it's like that back to survival of the fittest. Would you want that person who just talked about the reason why they didn't like that female to be the person who carries the generation on? The last time we wrote this, the last episode, I think I posted, I changed the title to like Idiocracy is Real. There's this movie called Idiocracy, and if you haven't watched it yet, Robert, and I don't know how many movies you watch, but you need to go check it out. It was a Mike Judge movie, and it's funny because it talks about the dumbing down of society, where Luke Wilson is the main character, and he gets put in this time capsule, and he basically was supposed to be in there for a year, and he was in the military. He was supposed to be in there for a year, but somehow over time they forgot about him, and he ended up being in there for like 30 years. And then they take this time capsule, which is kind of like a coffin. It's like a cryogenic thing, and they froze him. And they take it and they put it in a landfill. Well, 30 years later, they can't figure out where to put their garbage because they've ran out of room, and there's this dumbing down of society. And they kind of show this picture of what happens where the dumb people keep breeding, and the smart people decide that they shouldn't breed anymore, because if they do, like they wait until they have enough money, they wait until they're ready, they wait until all these things, like a lot of stuff that's happening right now in society. Well, I'm not old, my parents had kids when they were 20. We waited until we were 30. Like we're not prepared. Well, the people who are stupid and poor and whatever continue to breed, and so they have like 14, 15 kids, where these smart people have 0, right? And it's called the dumbing down of society. Well, they can't figure out how to talk anymore, which is what's happening. They can't figure out how to, like what they're supposed to do with hygiene and all those things. And it's just, I mean, it's amazing, because I feel like this is what's happening to our society. We're waiting on those things, and at the end of the day, they can't even speak real language. Luke Wilson comes out of this time capsule. He takes a aptitude test, and he is the smartest man in the world because of what has happened with these people evolving into just being dumb. And they're like putting Gatorade on their crops because they think that plants need electrolytes. Like there's all these, it's crazy. You got to watch it, but it's the dumbing down of society. And that's where we're going, I feel like.
Well, I mean, we talk about different skill sets. For example, my girlfriend and I were talking about, being lost in the wild, like which side of the tree does the moss grow on? And, the little bitty skills that growing up as a kid in the woods, you knew. I mean, why? Because you grew up in the woods.
Right.
My kids didn't grow up anywhere close to the woods.
Mm-hmm.
So when my son, who's in the Army, went to the woods, he had some experience, but he did not have the experience that I had. And so a lot of those skills had to be relearned for him.
Right.
So you realize as this society has become more urban, what do you lose in your capacity to exist in a rural environment? Well, of course, you lose it. Right. Just as much as if you're in a rural environment, what's your capacity to exist in an urban one? Well, when people come from the country and they in a big society, they look at it and go, "Oh my God, these roads are crowded. These people drive crazy. where in the world do you put your garden? There's a mis adaptation to your environment. And I think that's another thing we're seeing is the urban areas become much more dense, right? You
Right.
lose your capacity to do even the simple things like how many people can actually plant a garden anymore?
Hmm. And it's tough too. I mean, you look at it like that's the one of the things that we obviously don't live on 3 acres anymore. But my wife and I were out there talking. It's like growing up, I lived on 6 acres, so we grew a garden every year.
Hmm.
We went outside and went hunting, and we did all these things that she's never experienced. And then so when we move on to 3 acres, she's like, "This is not what I thought it would be. Like this is a pain in the butt. This is like whatever." And she goes out and she
Hmm.
tries to grow a garden. She doesn't quite. She knows that she's got to plant stuff, but she doesn't know how like making a furrow works when you're planting the garden and how like I had to go out there and show her like do this, make this, like put a furrow in the ground. You can put the water on one end, it'll go down to the other end, and the corn will get watered, right? Like these are all things that you learn over time, but we don't learn anymore.
Hmm.
Like you're talking about, we're looking here in Idaho. This is a really you know huge agricultural area, but all the agricultural ground is disappearing. And with the mentality that we all had growing up, like my parents were like, we want you to have more than we had. I want you to have more than I have. So go to college, get a degree, don't learn these soft skills and I'm calling they're like different types of soft skills, but like learning that the dirt is where food grows, learning how to build a fire, learning how to, I love barbecuing. It's like, there's all these different things that these people don't learn. And then you see like, I don't know. I mean, it's simple when you don't have let's take barbecuing, for example. When you don't have a barbecue, you have to figure out a way to cook your steak. And when you cook your steak, some people will cook it in a frying pan. Some people will do it in cast iron. Some people will do it in different ways. But when they find out that they can barbecue a steak over coal or, like in a pellet grill or even on gas, it tastes so much better. They're like, holy shit, what do I do? But we don't learn those things because we don't have the opportunity.
Yeah, and that, as you call them, soft skills, or whether we call them hard skills, it was the question my girlfriend had asked me was, um, my check engine light came on, and I said, "Don't worry about it." I drive a 2007. I said, "Don't worry about it." She said, "Why?" I said, "Because the things that matter also have indicators. So the check engine light is about my emissions control and nothing else."
Hmm.
She says, "How do you know?" I said, "Because process elimination." I said, "It's an internal combustion engine." And she's looking at me, and I go through the things real fast, and she says, "How do you know all that?" I said, "Number one, I was raised to be what they called a with a shade tree mechanic, I believe it was, where you
Uh-huh.
get underneath the shade tree, pop the thing, and start to work." I
Yeah.
was, my dad taught me how to change brakes, how to change oil, change tires, how to set timing on a car. I could drop an engine in a car.
Hmm.
Well, we're talking about an engine in a
Yeah.
1970s or 1980s car prior to all the computerization. But so the skill set, and then as a pilot, right? I flew jets, of course, but I flew internal combustion most of the time, so I know how they work. Okay, and so as long as you're not overheating, as long as you're oiling as the engine, so the biggest indication of internal combustion problem is what? Heat. Why?
Yeah.
Because it's a internal combustion. It's blowing crap up on a regular basis. As long as your heat's not going anywhere, right? And as long as you're not flooding your engine, you're okay.
Yeah.
It's just like you'll be fine.
Yeah. And
And she's
there's,
just looking at me. Mm,
yeah. And those are the things. It's like I interviewed a guy named, I think his name was Dennis Meralda, and he was talking about like men becoming men. Like those were skills that we taught. Like my dad taught me how to change oil in a car. Now
mhm,
I'm trying to teach my son yesterday, like we get in our car and it's got they give you all these dummy lights, right? So the air pressure is low. All right, great. Well, it can be one of two things. Number one, it's been, 30 degrees here. So you go outside, and as a person who's changed tires before, you know that air molecules slow down. And so in the morning, it's going to be colder than what it is. Now, if it's too below, like your indicator is going to come on. So we had every single tire on the car was at 27 pounds of air pressure, which is too low. Like you have to
mhm.
actually air up the tires to get them to the point where the indicator won't come on, which is going to be around 32 pounds, but the actual amount it's supposed to have is 35 pounds. I'm out there. What are you doing, Dad? Well, I'm putting air in the tires. Why? Because they're low. Why? Because the air, like you explain these things, and like these are things that we need to pass on to our kids that we don't, because we're just like, oh, just go to the tire store and they'll take care of it. Not learning how to take care of things on your own.
Well, and here's a oddity, right? Difference between cold and heat as far as lift is concerned in a plane, right? So the way the wing captures camphor, right, and captures lift in the morning when things are cold, the air molecules are what? They're tighter, which means you get more lift. Okay. Again, the same conception that you have of what we do for air in the tires is a conception we have in aeronautics.
Mhm.
So for us, it's the same thing. You're still learning kind of soft skills that help you understand your environment. That's all you're trying to do. And so in my case, you're looking at the check engine light and you're going, I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll
What
get
is
to
it? It's what's the root cause of that scenario? Like it could be that, oh,
it.
the oil's low. It could be that like you said, you have a coolant line leak. There could be so many different things that could cause that. And if you don't know what you're looking for, then you have no clue.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's amazing to me that it's coming down to things like this that, again, I think that everyone has to look at the fact that they have to take every single article that they read with a grain of salt and see that the fact of the matter is that they're just trying to get clicks. That's all there is to it. And if you click on it, they're going to get it. And that's what the headline's for. The headline is there for you to read it or to get to it.
Well, so do we worry about the swag gap or should we be more worried about the skills gap?
Yeah. Yep. I listen to the All In podcast all the time, and it's a bunch of rich guys talking about how they got rich and what it takes to, what this country needs. And it's like the AI race. Like, we have a problem with the AI race. We're not going to win it because we don't have enough power to do it, and we don't have enough time to get enough power to power these servers that are making this happen, right? And the reason we don't have that is because we have all these regulations of how we can have power. And the biggest state in the union wants to have their whole state electrified, but they don't have enough power to run this. That's just stupid. What are we doing? And we don't have enough of these people to build houses or plumbers or electricals or all these things. And the way that we get that back is by making trades, one of their things is like, we just need to make trade school free, because if we make trade school free, then we're going to have enough people to be able to have the trades to build the infrastructure for what we need. But instead we just villainize basically, being in a trade as something that, oh, you're lesser than I am because you can build a house, or you're lesser than I am because you can make sure that, all the plumbing is done or the electrical is done. And so we're going to run out of those people. And that's going to be a really highly paid job at some point, because there's going to be so little of them that what are we going to do? How are we going to build houses? How are we going to get things wired? You want more power, you have to build more power. How are we going to build more power? Who's going to do that? We can't have the people just designing it. Everyone's someone who designs it but can't do it.
Well, it's so funny. So next Monday we can talk about another article that came out of the Cleveland Federal Reserve. It talks about the gap between white collar and blue collar. In other words, if you were to talk about the employment gap, which you've traditionally said that you've got to go to college because there's this huge income gap between the two. Well, guess what's happening? The gap is tightening.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not even, it's even, we can talk, like you said, we can talk about that next week. We're just about out of time here, but like the teaching gap, right? We have all these people who are teaching who are making $38,000 a year. What kind of people are you going to attract for that amount of money? Who is going to be teaching your kids? Do you think that you're going to have the smartest people in the world teaching your kids? Are you going to have a lesser than that teaching your kids? Those are the
Best
types
and
of
the
people.
brightest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly it. Those are the types of people that you attract for what you get, And
These
I'm
are the
not,
real gaps.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not like dogging anyone who works at McDonald's, but does someone who works at McDonald's make a lot of money? Probably not. That used to be a starter job, and now it's like,
Yep.
yeah, it's a tough thing. So, Robert, as always, great conversation. Someone told me the other day, I saw a YouTube comment that said that all we do is yippity yap, 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 yippity yap. So here's to yippity yapping about things that matter.
Have a wonderful week.
Yep, you too. Hey, everyone, this has been two nobodies who know nothing and they just yippity yap. That's all we do. Like I said before, please make sure that you like, share, and review on Apple Podcasts. If you can, comment on the YouTube post. It helps us to push that out. And if you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/Wes Tankersley and help us to keep this going. Until next time, I challenge you to find the shape of your success.